A fierce battle rages between 200 warriors and divine beings. The enemy leader, full of pride, boasts about his 4 powerful spiritual gods. He declares he has gone beyond the gods themselves. Holding a hidden advantage, Shinobu calls forth level 6. A winged goddess, Seraph Gabrielle, materializes. Shocked by her power, the man mockingly demands Shinobu repeat his claim of surpassing gods. He stands before his allies, showing off strength no human has ever attained. He vows to become the world's strongest, even if he must begin at level 1 in Tokyo's past. Shinobu's data is wiped, leaving Lavina online stunned. He asks for clarification, uncertain if he heard right. His adoptive father, once his father's friend, a human, explains he took in Shinobu and his brother after their parents' death. With no other family left, Shinobu expresses thanks for the care given after they lost their home. Quietly, he considers his reliance on meager government aid. To support himself, he works a part-time job with no warmth or extra money, without parents. His younger sister alone brings him comfort, and an online RPG offers a joyful escape, like for many teens. The game's screen holds his only happiness so far. That is, until his data disappears. Shinobu slumps, staring in disbelief at his phone's login screen. His father sharply asks if he'll leave home after graduating, calling it his revenge against his son. Shinobu's eyes flicker, and when they open wide, he's in a forest. Confused, he wonders where he is. His thoughts are jumbled, and he touches his forehead, trying to sort his memories. Noticing red liquid on his hand, he looks at it closely. He scans the area, hoping to find someone nearby. The vivid landscape feels strangely familiar. A voice jolts him, and a system window greets him to the online world of Laveda Online. Pondering the situation, he realizes he's in the game, his memories still unclear, struggling to make sense of it all. He questions if he's been transported to another world, reborn in his favorite game. Instructions warn him to register before the tutorial starts, or face penalties. The data loss leaves him reeling. He mutters, asking for a moment to process the mess. His eyes lock onto something. A glowing orb appears before him. Shinobu sees it as a guide to follow. If the system resets, he'll start at level 1 again, in hard mode. Thinking of leaving his world behind, he knows his sister Megumi will worry. Collapsed on the ground, he lets out a curse. Something ahead startles him. A level 7 orange skeleton passes by. It spots Shinobu as a foe. Lost in sorrow, he's caught off guard, and the skeleton readies its sword beams to attack. Shinobu, with sharp reflexes, dodges the strike, moving his body like a game avatar. Testing the idea, he summons a level 1 fireball in his hand. He launches it at the skeleton, hoping to hit. Seeing its cloak merely scorched, Shinobu knows he missed. Still, he recalls these creatures strike hard, but are weak. If hit precisely, they shatter. The game demands advanced combat skills, letting lower-level players challenge stronger foes. Lying on the ground, nearly hurt, Shinobu recalls his past skill in the game. Lacking funds for pricey gear, he relied on his sharp playing abilities. After defeating the knight, he advances a level in the game. Victory brings rich rewards, including a recovery orb added to his inventory, though he's unsure how to locate it. The game mirrors the mobile Versio perfectly, letting him enjoy the familiar setup. While navigating the interface, a sudden movement grabs his focus, making him glance aside. Turning, he spots a huge undead stone bird. It's level 15, staring him down. Shinobu, drained from battle, is stunned, knowing he's too weak to fight it. The bird snatches his coat, slamming him to the ground. Fear surges as he thinks he'll be wiped out in the game. His sister's face flashes before him, joined by a white light as his eyes widen. A welcome message from Laveda appears, resetting him to the game's start. Oddly, he notices nothing unusual despite his defeat. He stays at level 2. A trick let him level up in the tutorial, reviving each time he dies since the game hasn't fully begun. In the past, players called this tactic silly, favoring fun over staying stuck in the tutorial. But now, real elimination is a risk. He must act with great care. Recalling his defeat, he feels again the pain of losing his life. Then, a friend request pops up, odd for a new account. Suddenly, countless requests flood in, screens encircling him. Overwhelmed, he struggles to grasp what's happening. He realizes each request comes from someone reborn in the game. The sheer number shocks him, but then he spots requests from Ayumu and Megumi, puzzling him. Why are they here? He remembers Ayumu saying deleting his account was revenge. His adoptive father confesses his love for Shinobu's mother, Shoko. He calls her his first love, ignored by her, yet he wanted to prove his strength. He blames her death on Shinobu's father's poverty, claiming it left her without a good life. He says Shinobu's father caused her death, leaving the boy stunned. Furious, he used wealth and power to trap Shinobu's father in debt with shady figures. Soon after, his father died too. Because Shinobu looks like his father, Ayumu seeks revenge on him. He relishes the boy's despair after these truths. With a chilling smile, he shares a dark secret with Shinobu. Megumi looks like their mother, and he plans something for her, eyes gleaming. Shinobu demands to know what he means. Ayumu hints that without laws, he'd overwhelm Megumi with his affection. Enraged, Shinobu curses. His smartphone runs La Vida, a free-to-play game. Ayumu brags he's already rank 5 in La Vida. He shows Shinobu his stats, built over 3 years. Shinobu's rank was 93 before his data vanished. La Vida favors those who pay, so he must outdo them. At level 5, Ayumu mocks him as a parasite, questioning if he could be a skilled player. He spends heavily for La Vida advantages. Their talk halts as something outside grabs their focus, leaving them puzzled. The door flies open, and Megumi rushes in, yelling for her brother. Terrified, she warns of a fire, urging escape. Through the window, city buildings burn, smoke rising thickly. While the siblings are distracted, Ayumu slips out, locking the door behind him. As Ayumu flees, flames trap him in his escape attempt. A blast rocks the building, pushing Megumi and Shinobu into the inferno. Fearing the drop, he holds her tightly to shield her. The game screen announces a call for all ranked players and flags system errors. Shinobu recalls everything now. He perished in the fall and entered the game. Those lost in the fire were pulled into a rank recruitment event. Megumi's data shows on screen, detailing her post-fall state. She's at risk, with a countdown ticking. Deeply worried, Shinobu knows if it hits 0, she'll be dragged into this world. Thinking of Ayumu's words and his presence here, Shinobu frets over protecting his sister. Unseen, a skeletal foe from the tutorial creeps up. It slashes him with its blade. Shinobu spins, breaking free, facing it directly. Now sharper, he knows his task, summoning a fireball to level up and push past his limits. Megumi will reincarnate in 225 hours, so he plans to level up by dying repeatedly. He hits the skeletal beast, reducing it to ash, and a notification confirms his level up. But the screen shows players fighting and eliminating each other. Alarmed at facing another player, he sees the need to boost his level fast. At level 3, he chooses to use the tutorial's respawn trick to gain levels. Higher levels mean less risk of elimination, and he thinks of the Beast Summoner's edge. His class, Beast Summoner, fights with summoned creatures. In gacha events, he earned this class, mourning the loss of Gabriel. Seraphim, his strongest free class, came through hard work. He stops grieving his lost beast. His glowing orb urges him to follow the system to avoid penalties. The monster Bernardi blocks his path. He swings his sword, striking it. Determined to defy the system, Shinobu flees south. He reaches ancient ruins, pausing before a tough dungeon filled with high-level monsters. This area unlocks only at the game's end, but Shinobu finds a device and activates it. Giant doors swing open. In darkness, he summons a fireball to light the path. He's stunned by the sight. Skeletal warriors with swords fill the space. Wielding his staff and fireballs, he rushes at the creatures. As he defeats foes, experience point alerts pop up. One enemy speaks an odd tongue, but Shinobu brushes it off, attacking fiercely. Enraged, he wants to end it, knowing he'll revive. The endless cycle maddens him, but he persists for Megumi. Her image, calling him, flashes in his mind. Shinobu wonders why she appears. Megumi asks if he'll leave home for university, and he confirms he will. She begs him to take her along. She distrusts Ayumu's kindness, sensing danger. Shinobu vows to bring her and never leave her. He imagines living with her at university, liking the idea. Fueled by this promise, he fights harder to crush his foes. His level climbs, unlocking advanced magic skills. He casts 3rd level fire magic, its force like a small nuclear blast, wiping out enemies. Grinning at his success, he hits level 50. At this point, monsters yield little experience. A winding staircase guides Shinobu deep into the dungeon's heart. He braces for the stage's final boss, the immortal king of difficulty. At level 95, the king appears with his level A5 underworld warriors. The beast's jaws unleash an energy orb. Its force ravages the dungeon, wiping out Shinobu. Defeated by the king, he's thrown back to the game's starting point. The swift defeat feels better than enduring endless sword wounds. Unwavering, he re-enters the dungeon, facing repeated losses, but battling skeletons relentlessly. Each fight ends in his elimination, yet with his staff, combat, and magic prowess, he clears every foe in his way. He confronts the final boss again. The king casts his Underworld Rose attack, using potent level 4 magic. Shinobu summons the shield of the 4 sacred beasts. but the monsters might shatter his HP completely. Determined to topple the immortal king, he seeks its weakness. With his staff, he casts Seraphim Call, a radiant beam hitting the king, who shields his eye with a bony hand. The king's other hand strikes Shinobu. The magic wasn't enough to fell the level 95 beast. Badly hurt, Shinobu grins at the king. He declares he's uncovered the enemy's secret. Then, with level 3 magic, he triggers a pure magic blast. This self-defense move drains all HP and MP, a risky skill due to its elimination penalty. With this bold move, Shinobu resolves to persist, even if it means repeating the attack. The immortal king reels from the blow's impact. Shinobu respawns at the game's start. A notification pops up, revealing he's gained the Cloak of Wisdom from the king. He pauses, smiling as he grasps the item's value. Shinobu rejoices, having vanquished the beast. Worn out from fighting, he slumps to the ground. Amazed, he sees his level has hit 72 on screen. He considers his foes: common enemies at level 10, strong NPCs at level 50, and reincarnated players, possibly at level 99. He knows leveling up further here will be tough. He equips his new gear, the Cloak of Wisdom, Game of Health, and Ring of Death. Ready for more fights, the boy decides to complete the tutorial by touching the orb. The game prompts him to register his user. His name already listed, he inputs Shinobu Majima. As a prize, he earns a professional skill gem, unlocking the Divine Power Release ability. Shinobu recalls this ability arrives in the next big update. Touching the orb, he's whisked to a void-like space. A young girl emerges behind him, catching his eye. Startled, he faces her. She sits with magical cubes floating nearby. She briskly explains this is Levita Online's management office. Her words stun him, realizing he's with an administrator. Shinobu's upset and demands answers about being pulled into the game and the fire that killed him. The administrator dodges his questions, and he sees she's just a bot. As the first to access the new update, the Key of Agartha, he gets a bonus to begin the new mission, the 13 Steps of Utopia. Shinobu demands to know about the mission and why he didn't start the game after the tutorial. The term Agartha feels odd, though he vaguely recalls it linked to a massive MMORPG update, packed with tweaks and new features. He knows it was set to launch in 2 months, confused by its early release. The administrator can't respond as she examines his system data. A message shows his data was erased. She cross-checks the executive board's records with the operation log. She clarifies that his account, deleted for unauthorized access, was reinstated by management. Shinobu rejoices at his restored data. Yet items he sold are gone, only gacha items remain. Chosen for the big update, Shinobu stares at his screen data, puzzled why he alone accesses it, unable to reclaim lost gear. The administrator apologizes for her inability to assist. Though upset about his losses, he resolves to press on without his old equipment. The bot clicks the screen to launch the mission. Shinobu shouts for her to stop, wanting to ask more, but it's too late. A portal opens behind him. She repeats she can't answer. Transported to a utopian city at the world's core, he lands hard. Bewildered, he scans his surroundings, trying to grasp his location. Grumbling again over unanswered questions, he wanders the strange city, still baffled that he's the only one with update access. Mission details flash on screen, describing a 13-floor tower dungeon he must conquer. The tutorial done, Shinobu knows elimination now means permanent death. He recalls the administrator restoring his gacha data and checks his summoning menu. All his beasts are unfit for combat. These summoners reject resurrection magic, only reviving in city facilities, none of which are here. Shinobu hopes they'll return when his full data is restored. Left with no choice, he advances to face unknown foes on the first floor. A fireball lights his path, revealing a goblin opponent. He scoffs at its small size, thinking it fits the early stage, and checks its status. His eyes widen as the screen reveals it's a mystical class creature. Its recommended level is 105. He questions if it exceeds the level cap. The goblin shrieks and rushes him. Shinobu barely dodges. Mid-fight, he learns the level cap arrives next update, but he can surpass 99 now. He evades another strike as the goblin hits the ground. He stays vigilant, aware elimination means no return. The goblin charges again. Shinobu's fireball fails to harm it. He summons chains to bind the foe tightly. This is his moment to burn it, but the goblin breaks free. Swiftly, it attacks with its weapon's sharp edge. This alarms Shinobu, yet he's set on surviving. Using third-level magic, he hits the goblin with self-elimination magic. It howls, but loses only a bit of HP. Anxious, Shinobu checks his battle status, realizing a prolonged fight might deplete his HP first. Shinobu plays his ace using the recovery orb earned as a prize. This item refills stamina, health, and mana. He activates it, restoring his vitality, then triggers the self-destruction skill again, unleashing multiple blasts. He repeatedly uses this ability against the goblin, creating dazzling explosions that wreck everything ahead, yet the goblin remains standing. Amazed by the goblin's toughness, Shinobu watches it sneer tauntingly. Abruptly, the creature falls, defeated. He cheers his win, gaining a level and collecting items dropped by the foe. Clearing the first floor, he earns a skill gem for subordinate recovery. Surprised, he learns this ability, set for the next update, will let him revive summons without city visits. He instantly taps the screen to use the skill. The administrator pops up, announcing the upcoming update. All players view the broadcast with this news. Even Ayumu watches, surrounded by unclothed women. Finally, Nabat declares the update will roll out when the last summoned player joins in 10 months and 23 days. This alarms Shinobu, as he knows the administrator means his sister. The bot ends the transmission. Checking his status, he sees he's now level 80. Elsewhere in Levita Online, two youths hide. The boy is stunned their pursuer found them. The younger girl speaks of monsters her sister and allies are battling. He comforts her, noting her sister has rallied many fighters and a great mage might aid them. A figure lurks in the trees, spying on the kids. A huge, horned beast emerges, grinning wickedly, terrifying them. As it nears, the boy steps forward, urging Claire to flee, but she won't abandon Aaron, who grips his sword. He pleads again for her to escape. Resolved to fight the beast to his last breath, he hopes his sister can reach safety. But the monster seizes Claire, who screams in fear. Aaron yells for his sister, crushed in its grip. He strikes the beast, but its tough hide breaks his sword, and Aaron collapses. The beast squeezes tighter, but a sudden slash cuts its hand. It roars in pain as Claire starts to fall. Scared, she shuts her eyes, then opens them, finding herself floating. Aaron's thrilled and shocked to see her levitating. Shinobu saved Claire, unseen by her. Using optical camouflage magic, he now reveals himself to the kids. Shinobu saved them, unable to bear letting someone die before him. More monsters appear. He clenches his fist, set to crush them. His magic wipes out the level 8 creatures. 2 more charge him. He casts a 5th level spell, Bladed Infinity, shredding the foes into countless bits. In Levita, level 30 marks the kingdom of the Holy Sword and the Grand Mage. Gazing at the horizon, he plans his next step. The children eye him curiously. Shinobu guesses they're siblings and knows leading them here is risky, so he ponders a fix. He triggers his enemy detection skill. A huge energy orb sweeps the area, displayed on Shinobu's screen. It detects armed humans and a horde of level 20 ogres. He pulls up his hood, casts 3rd level magic to soar, and vanishes into the sky, leaving Aaron and Claire baffled, wondering if he's a deity. Elsewhere, horses draw wagons. A woman expresses gratitude to an adventurer for aiding her group in escaping fiery flames. Jacob reads a book. He snaps at the captain not to bother him rudely. He grumbles that time is money, wasted on someone as useless as her. She says sorry, then reports a pack of orcs in a far-off area. Jacob retorts he's aware of the 100 orcs. She apologizes again, adding there's more intriguing news. She speaks of augurs spotted by witnesses. This grabs Jacob's focus, and he shuts his book to hear more. She explains a recruit spotter group saw them last night, a threat to the world's people. Jacob doubts her ability to handle it, guessing the recruit saw something else. Irritated, he says she deserves punishment for disrupting his magic studies. Yet charmed by her looks, he'll forgive her if she dines with him. She hesitates, wary of his bad reputation with women. To deflect, she asks about his level 2 magic skills. Boasting, he says he's perfected Supreme Flame magic. As a master of standard fire, he's at humanity's peak. She feigns excitement. Jacob hints this will change soon, puzzling her. He reveals they're progressing with the Dragon King's flame breath, and she's shocked. It's the top level 2 magic. She knows his skill is elite but plans to use it to guard Aaron and Claire. A soldier rushes in, warning of an enemy attack. Jacob assumes it's orcs, but learns it's augurs. The orc herd rampages, wrecking everything. A soldier is mauled, his lower half torn off. The woman calls for calm, insisting Jacob will shield them. He apologizes, saying he's only studying the Flaming Dragon King, not fighting. Arrogantly, he claims his talent matters only if he survives, calling her foolish for expecting him to risk elimination. She reminds him of his contract to fight monsters. This angers him, but he sees if she dies, the contract stays secret. Cowardly, he bolts to save himself. As ogres close in, she thinks of her siblings with lightning speed. Shinobu appears, spear in hand, to confront the foe. His blade cuts through the beast before him. The woman, awestruck, can't fathom who he is or where he came from. Shinobu grins, calling it a great spot to hone his skills. She stares, amazed at his power. His sword breaks on the ogre's tough hide, so he grips his staff. She keeps watching, curious about this boy. Shinobu sports new gear, a legendary oversized dagger and Monarch's light armor. He's sure he'll beat the ogres. Glancing around, something catches his eye. He's shocked to see fallen NPCs on the ground, sparking an idea in his mind. Shinobu notices he's drawing attention and chides himself for dropping the camouflage that hid him. Jacob shouts at him while Shinobu checks his stats. Seeing Jacob's a level 20 mage, Shinobu casually says he's just a wandering adventurer. The weaker mage remarks he's never seen gear like Shinobu's. To level the playing field, Shinobu asks if Jacob can cast attack spells. Offended, Jacob grins proudly, proclaiming himself the future master of Dragon King's flame breath. Shinobu calculates, pegging him at level 3 magic. He knows he must stay hidden from other players. Jacob yells, asking where he's headed, and Shinobu replies he's off to deal with the remaining ogres. Hoping to match Jacob's magic, Shinobu plans to use his own at the same level. Facing the foes, he casts 3rd level Dragon King's flame breath. Ogres wail, consumed by mid-tier flames. Jacob, stunned, sees the power he's long chased. Puzzled, Shinobu asks why he's so shocked. Assuming Jacob can use the same spell, Shinobu is surprised by his reaction. Jacob stays quiet, pulling up his hood. As Shinobu starts to leave, the woman who watched the fight rushes to him. He pauses and she thanks him for saving everyone, calling him Great Sage. She keeps using the title and asks if he wielded level 3 magic. Shinobu rejects the label and questions if Jacob can truly cast that spell. She says the level 20 mage brags he'll manage it soon. Others talk of heading back to the village for a feast. This troubles Shinobu, wary of being dragged into complications. He calls over the chatting NPC soldiers, asking them to inspect his staff. As they look closely, he casts level 4 mental hack magic, wiping their memories of the event. This makes him understand the bot's talk of management. He recalls the administrator's words about the update, realizing time in the game moves far differently than in reality. He figures 100 years have passed in-game, yet his deep Levita knowledge doesn't fully apply in this complex world. The woman, dazed, struggles to make sense of her foggy memory. She recalls Jacob and thanks him for saving them, mentioning Dragon King's flame breath. Jacob realizes Shinobu's magic affected her but doesn't recognize the gear used. Meanwhile, the captain plans to head home and report the mage's triumph to the guild. Abruptly, Jacob shouts for her to be quiet and casts fire magic, startling the soldiers. She questions his actions. He acted out of fear the spell would fade, exposing his cowardice, making him the only one unaffected. He shows a wrist item that blocked the memory wipe. The woman is horrified, watching her soldiers die as Jacob laughs cruelly. He vows to spare her life, keeping her as his pet to repay the shame she brought him. At the Adventurers Guild, Shinobu seeks to register. The receptionist, puzzled, asks who he is. The guild hall is stunning, with finely dressed members guiding him around. With 100 years passed in the game, Shinobu feels disconnected, seeing the guild as a way to gain knowledge. The woman studies him, questioning if he truly wants to be an adventurer in such poor gear. 2 men at a table overhear, chuckling that Shinobu's mother might have crafted it. Upset, he demands to know the issue, and she explains black gear is seen as low grade. Still, he pushes to register, and she remarks he must be desperate for registration funds. She tells him to touch the skill evaluation crystal. He hesitates, thinking it'd be a farce if it shows his level 80, and opts out of registering. She declares life is valuable, equating it to money, the guild's motto. Shinobu recalls Jacob saying this. Suddenly, Jacob appears beside him, and the receptionist asks if her master wants tea or coffee in his office. Shinobu hides under his hood as Jacob picks tea. Trying to leave, Shinobu is stopped by Jacob's command to stay. The guild leader announces a meeting with the young man. He scolds the receptionist for calling Shinobu dirty, stressing sharp eyes are key for her role. Jacob says they must discuss the forest events, calling him a transmog. The receptionist, apologizing for earlier, escorts Shinobu to the guild master's office. In the room, Jacob says he's using magic to block sounds, securing their talk. Shinobu asks why his spell didn't wipe Jacob's memory. Offended, Jacob lifts his arm, showing a wrist item, and asks if Shinobu can't see its worth, and a Alexandrite stone shielding against equal or weaker magic. Shinobu asks how Jacob got it. Jacob says it was a rare gift from a family member, a trans immigrant from long ago, and this is his first time meeting one. He adds only he knows of these people, a secret held by top royal court, church, and noble ranks. Concluding, he voices his astonishment. He describes them as figures appearing every century, unaging, with godlike powers. Jacob calls these trans-immigrants gods, stunning shinobu. He mentions rumors of world-ruling groups led by divine beings, like Tiger's Eye, Dawn Brigade, Patriotic Lion, and Dragon's Roar. These names match Levita guilds, giving shinobu deeper world insight. He asks what Jacob seeks for sharing this. Jacob says he wants Shinobu's friendship. Shinobu wonders if he's hiding his identity. Jacob realizes Shinobu's actually concealing his own vulnerabilities. Shinobu seizes the moment, saying Jacob's threats don't matter since he'd be eliminated anyway. With a half-mocking tone, Jacob asks if Shinobu's trying to intimidate him. He notes that if he could act, he'd have taken Shinobu out in the forest. Jacob promises the secret stays safe, vowing to keep it hidden himself. Confused, Shinobu doesn't grasp his meaning. Jacob admits he used fire magic to wipe out the warrior group. He adds he's the sole keeper of the secret, having spared the captain, no fool. Wanting to avoid elimination by Shinobu, he suggests a dual contract. If Shinobu wins, his secret remains safe. If he loses, he'll be Jacob's slave forever. Shinobu considers the contract part of the game's system, unbreakable once set. Though Jacob calls it optional, he threatens to expose Shinobu's secret if he refuses. This makes Shinobu think his adoptive father might target him first, blocking his mission to protect Megumi. Jacob boasts his skills can't match a god's, proposing a fight on ideal terms. Shinobu accepts, signing the contract, and Jacob cheers. Posing proudly, Shinobu asks if Jacob truly believes he can win. Shinobu reflects on the warrior group he helped against augurs. Jacob clarifies the contract sets the duel's location, and he'll use his wrist treasure. A notification alerts Shinobu he's been forced to a new map spot, a ruined temple. Jacob wields a stone granting godlike power as its bearer. It lets him use abilities beyond his skills, summoning supreme mythical beings. Shinobu weighs his battle options, knowing he can only call Gabriel instantly. Jacob starts, casting a level 4 summoning spell for beasts like Salamander and the 4 celestial spirit gods. More creatures emerge: Undine, a giant stone gnome, and winged sylphs. Shinobu eyes the beasts, odd for high-ranking monsters revered as gods. Jacob dares him to summon his own, but Shinobu declines, questioning if Jacob truly sees the 4 great spirits as supreme, which they aren't. He ponders human weakness and how divine beings rule all groups. He wonders if trans-immigrants' hoarded experience point knowledge. At last he sees why Levita decayed over 100 years. These beings reshaped the world, letting reincarnated players act freely in the game. Focused on the duel, Shinobu says he's short on time, but will fight seriously since Jacob uses paid items. Jacob yells fearlessly to the void, calling his beasts gods and they're summoning a human-first miracle. Encircled by his summons, he claims to outdo gods with a level 5 summoning spell. Shinobu summons the divine Emperor of Flames, Bahamut, whose roar terrifies Jacob. He adds he's not finished, calling the Sea Emperor Leviathan. More follow: a massive bear, the Thunder Emperor Indra, and the Earth Mother Goddess Gaia. The 4 beasts stand by Shinobu, who laughs. In panic, Jacob insists humans shouldn't wield level 5 summoning spells. Shinobu unleashes a level 6 summoning spell, bringing forth the messenger of heaven's seraph, Gabriel. The radiant angel stands by her summoner's side. Jacob, stunned, can't speak. Shinobu mocks him, urging him to repeat his claim that humans can't summon level 5 beings. Now brimming with strength, the boy readies for combat. Jacob can't believe a level 6 summon is real. Shinobu tells Gabriel he's missed her, his strongest ally. The seraph humbly says it's a privilege to fight with him again. Jacob realizes his 4 gods are too weak for this battle. Furious, he shouts, denying reality and calling himself a genius. The creatures clash in a grand fight. Shinobu's summons, far mightier, dominate, crushing their foes. Jacob screams in horror as his 4 spirits fall, but he insists he can call them back. Shinobu commands Gabriel, who swiftly obeys. Soaring forward, Seraph strikes Jacob, seizing and smashing his items. Jacob collapses, shocked, his gear ruined, defeated. He asks Shinobu if this is a transmog god's power. Shinobu corrects him, saying not to mix in with gods, who've been far stronger since the game's start. He admits he began at level 1, rising only through repeated tutorial eliminations. Laughing, Jacob can't accept what he hears. Suddenly, the 4 spirits return, catching Shinobu off guard. They near Jacob, who orders them back, claiming he's their summoner. Freed from the paid item's control, they no longer obey. The spirits charge and the platform under Jacob starts to break apart. The floor gives way and Jacob falls off the cliff. A notification confirms his removal from the battlefield. Days later, Shinobu's at the guild, reading a newspaper about the guild master's vanishing, stirring city chaos as a cover-up. It's framed as Jacob losing his mind from overstudy, killing soldiers cruelly before escaping. Shinobu used magic to twist the city folks' minds, enabling this story. He feels uneasy, the act leaving a sour feeling. From a cottage rooftop, he sees the captain reunite with Aaron and Claire. The siblings hug happily, warming Shinobu's heart to see them safe together. He reflects that a single error could have caused big trouble. Seeing human cruelty's depths, he resolves to grow stronger, leveling up and gaining new weapons and skills. He plans to explore the secret dungeon now open to him, prepared for what's next. He summons Gabriel. Gabriel answers, ready to follow him anywhere. In another part of La Vida, a fight rages. A cat-eared girl, badly hurt, can barely stand or speak. A hatted man asks if she hates him. Defiant, she vows to defeat him. He urges her on, saying hate will make her stronger enough to end him. He explains to her that she hasn't yet reached the skill needed to exceed level 99, urging her to push past the highest limit. His hand is stained with the blood of a trans man. He solemnly promises to destroy all such creatures. The focus shifts to Shinobu, who thinks back on his encounter with Mage Jacob. He shares his discomfort about death, and Seraph Gabriel comforts him, insisting that the mage's hostility justified his end as a form of justice. Gabriel, true to her essence, reveres her master as divine, pledging absolute loyalty and transforming into a fierce protector at his command. Shinobu interrupts, warning her against killing without restraint, but she counters that the enemy was an unbeliever deserving death as her master would expect. Shinobu disagrees firmly. He tells her she must seek his approval before taking such actions in the future. She accepts, affirming that obedience defines her existence. Shinobu, finding this extreme, teases that if he commanded her to die, she'd obey instantly. Gabriel calmly agrees. She adds with conviction that though her heart would break, her body would endure, taking time to fade away. Frantic, Shinobu instructs her to cast healing magic, and Gabriel follows his order. They sit by a campfire, preparing food. Someone is struck by Gabriel's devotion, and she explains her commitment extends beyond fighting to tasks like cooking and cleaning. She hints at being available for nighttime roles if needed, leaving him puzzled. Then she pulls down her clothing's top, triggering the system's warning to obscure her exposed form. The situation catches them off guard. Levita's rules deem such acts inappropriate for a 17-year-old, halting her nighttime duties. Shinobu realizes Gabriel was entirely earnest, only the fire's crackle fills the silence as their meal cooks. Shinobu ponders his next move, boosting his fighting strength. Despite past troubles, he's gained valuable knowledge. Gabriel wonders if they're not already powerful enough for combat. He admits her strength is dependable, but warns it won't suffice against level 99 foes. If Jacob's tale about factions secretly controlling powers while keeping balance is true, Shinobu fears this stability could crumble with the major update and new level ceiling. He reflects that such a shift might upset the power balance, sparking widespread conflict. Shinobu stresses the need for fighting strength to endure and recalls that, by his calculations, his sister will enter this world in 10 months. Curious, Gabriel asks about his plans for such power. He says he'll first stay hidden, using his unique access to the update to level up as much as possible. Shinobu admits that soul leveling is slow, and Gabriel notes that avoiding other players means no party alliances, so he resolves to befriend the world's locals. Gabriel doubts the value of befriending Lydia's weak residents, but he believes there's a purpose behind their fragility and ignorance of powerful divine demons. He deduces that players likely suppressed information for a century, keeping residents powerless. Gabriel grasps that the locals aren't weak by nature, but were deliberately weakened. Shinobu aims to find promising individuals, like unpolished gems, to train as his followers for his strategy. He readies himself to seek out humans while hiding who he truly is. They reach a Slav market. Shinobu admits he has few options, as openly recruiting could expose him to danger. On stage, a Slav is auctioned, with buyers eagerly raising bids. He notes the place is tidier than anticipated, and Gabriel explains that Slavs are treated as goods, their quality meticulously assessed before sale. A Slav approaches them, and the seraph remarks that her sole role is to offer affection to those who buy her. Shinobu seeks Gabriel's advice on picking a disciple, curious for a fresh viewpoint. Guided by her own tastes, preferences, and quirks, she proposes a boy of about 10 years old as a suitable candidate. Shinobu laughs, poking fun that she seems fond of adorable young boys, but Gabriel insists it was merely a theoretical suggestion. Shinobu decides he'll make the choice himself. As they move through the market, Gabriel's attention is drawn to something. She indicates a storage area for goods, and Shinobu asks her to hold on. A vulnerable, wounded girl lies on the ground, while a merchant shouts, angrily questioning how she got there. He calls her unsellable garbage and demands her removal from the market. The girl mumbles words in a strange tongue. The man lifts his fist, ready to strike her, declaring she'll no longer trouble buyers. Quick as a flash, Shinobu seizes the man's wrist, startling him as he demands to know what the boy is up to. Grinning, Shinobu says he's just a wandering customer. The merchant's attitude flips, now keen to learn what kind of buyer he's dealing with. Shinobu inquires if the girl is for sale, but the man denies it, claiming she likely tried to flee. Shinobu presses the question again, and the man brusquely repeats that she's worthless. Examining her status, Shinobu notes she's only level 1, with abysmal stats and in awful shape. He asks how she ended up this way, and the merchant explains she was already like this when found, rude and doomed to die from sickness. Shinobu kneels beside the girl, who, terrified, scoots back and snarls at him like a wild animal. He sees she's close to death, yet her eyes burn with a fierce determination to survive. Reflecting on their shared resilience, he recalls his own refusal to surrender despite enduring the pain of repeated defeats. Shinobu remembers losing his parents and how Megumi was the same age as this girl. Protectively, he wraps his arms around her and asks the merchant her price, seeing his own struggles mirrored in her gaze. In her memories, she starts to recall her life before it unraveled into despair. The girl, introducing herself as Alice Cecil, says she's 15, born to the Cat Ear tribe in the vast Scarf Forest. Her family, guardians, and battle mages governed the land from its heart. She was born when her parents were celebrated as remarkable mages, leading to high hopes for her own magical talents. Because of this, at 14, she left her village to study magic at the Imperial Academy. In the Lilac Empire, beastmen face prejudice, and natives are often mocked privately, making her favor rural life over the city. Still, she enjoyed a typical school life with friends. Everything shifted when the mage's rite of passage came. The ceremony involved bonding with spirits. At 15, Alice felt unprepared mentally. The 4 mighty spiritual gods were called, and she attempted a contract to wield magic. Yet all 4 denied her power, branding her as useless and making her the school's mockery. Despite ongoing taunts and occasional slurs like savage, Alice persisted until a girl repeated the insult, prompting Alice to lash out in anger, hitting someone for the first time. She was livid at the mockery of her origins, especially since everyone had paid for school and enjoyed farewell celebrations. Consequently, the harassment worsened, plunging her into deeper misery. Before the break, Alice was summoned to the headmaster's office, where she was granted special leave and advised to return home and abandon the academy. Even after choosing to go back, she fretted over her parents' reaction to her failure as a mage. Wiping her tears, Alice reassured herself they'd welcome her and resolved to apologize for letting them down. At minimum, she could still guard the forest, but upon arriving, she found it engulfed in flames, the air thick with blood. Horrified, she saw the entire place raze, people burning and screaming for her parents. Alice rushed toward them, but collapsed amid the debris. A memory of her joyful goodbye flickered in her mind. Behind her, a man appeared, aiming his hand at her. A dark energy sphere, Pandora, a level 5 spell, formed. Struck by the magic, Alice fell, her body searing, choking, and writhing in agony. The man revealed he'd placed a magical seal on her, cursing her with various harmful effects. It drained her levels, spreading sickness and disorder through her body. Grinning, he asked if her heart ached. More terrified, she questioned if he killed her parents and village, and with a cruel smile, he admitted it. He urged her to confess her hatred, boasting he could easily wipe out the village due to his immense power. Grabbing her arm, he called her weak, saying even if she didn't grasp it now, he wanted her hatred to fuel her strength. He then announced he'd sell her to the Slav market, claiming her planned hatred would make her a servant of love. Again, he said her hatred would grow so intense she'd gain strength, escape, and return to challenge him if she lived. Weakened and sprawled on the ground, Alice swore never to forgive him and demanded his name. He replied it hinged on her survival, noting he always gave a parting gift to those bound for death and had long forsaken his name. Still, people dubbed him the God Slayer, a name he liked, tied to his goal of one day destroying all like him. Alice vowed to kill him, pleasing him, and he said he'd eagerly await her as a high-level warrior. Furious, she yelled she'd seek vengeance and end his life. In the present, Alice, battered and filthy in the Slav market, opens her eyes to see Shinobu and the merchant. Shinobu asks Gabriel how long the healing will take, and the seraph says 3 seconds. Alice's eyes shut. Gabriel casts her healing spell, Sora's Blessing. Alice wakes, staring at her restored body. Glancing at Gabriel, she sees the angel and asks if she's dead. Shinobu announces he'll wait outside, trusting Gabriel to look after the girl, and leaves them alone. Alice recalls the God Slayer's words about the kind of slave she'd become, but she pulls away when Gabriel tries to assist her in changing. The seraph calms her, assuring Alice she's safe with her nearby. The two girls bathe, and Gabriel helps scrub the grime off Alice's body. Alice notices the petrification poison, along with her wounds and even old scars, has vanished completely. She expresses gratitude for the healing, but Gabriel insists she thanks Shinobu, as he was the one who inquired about her recovery time. Still, Alice appreciates Gabriel's efforts, and the seraph explains she was merely following the young mage's instructions. Now clean and dressed in fresh clothes, they rejoin Shinobu. He urges them to come with him, and Alice recalls the God Slayer's words again. Her face shifts, overwhelmed with emotion and hunger at the sight of a lavish meal, causing Shinobu to grow concerned for her. Alice asks if she's a Slav and whether she'll be expected to comfort her master. She mentions the Slav crest still on her body, unremoved, and Shinobu assures her they'll dispel it. Gabriel apologizes for the oversight and uses magic to erase the mark. Overjoyed, Alice notes it's a rare spell from a century ago, and Shinobu explains it can only be lifted by an oath or contract. Shinobu celebrates, declaring she's free and can eat anything she desires. Alice remarks that he has magical skill and questions why he bought her, believing she's useless. He clarifies he seeks powerful allies and disciples, not intending to enslave her when he purchased her. Yet with a sorrowful expression, Alice apologizes, saying she clung to him for rescue but feels unworthy and doubts she can grow strong due to her incompetence. After the feast, Shinobu leads them to a spot far from the city. At night, Alice, anxious, asks if they're traveling, and he explains they're heading to a base to practice magic unseen. The mage's staff shines as he casts a flight spell, lifting Alice into the air. He suggests she close her eyes if she's frightened, then uses a 4th-level gravity spell. Disabling the float, the three hover, and Alice, seeing the city from above the clouds, is amazed. Shinobu asks if she's afraid, but she insists she's not, calling the view stunning. Alice wonders if he's a god, noting an archangel follows him. He chuckles, insisting he's only human, though Gabriel calls him divine. She points out that casting 4th-level magic so effortlessly isn't normal and questions why he'd choose her as a disciple. Shinobu asks if she knows the world is round, and she admits she thought it was flat, like a map. He points out the world's curve and its upward edge. Showing her the dark expanse above the clouds, he describes unseen landscapes. He tells Alice she labels herself incompetent, but adds that with so much yet to learn, she can't be sure of her limits. Tears well in Alice's eyes as she hears the boy's kind words. Shinobu notes how she's been amazed each time, but warns that to survive, she needs one final shock. She questions what could top the wonders he's already revealed. He explains that in the game, moving between places was simpler, then triggers a 5th-level dimensional orbit command. A mighty sword materializes, and Alice tries to act unfazed by its appearance. Shinobu clarifies he's not just showing off the weapon, then slashes the sky, tearing open a dimensional rift. Stunned, Alice asks what it is, then gazes wide-eyed at the celestial palace as Eric, Shinobu's modest home. Alice overflows with awe and excitement. The palace also houses Shinobu's summoned creatures. As the three roam the halls, Alice trails behind, absorbing every detail of the place. Gabriel inquires what Shinobu plans next, and if he'll meet the generals, his level 6 summoned beasts. He declines, saying he'll handle that later since he wants to train Alice first. Alice looks startled when he mentions arranging special training for her, given she's still level 1. She asks if he's serious about training her and what he expects of her. Shinobu explains he wants her to start by forming a pact, which confuses her. He brings up the 4 great spirits she failed to contract with. She nods, admitting she thinks it's due to her incompetence. Shinobu disagrees and asks her to describe how levels work. She explains that soul ranking grows by taking power from defeated foes, with levels showing that rank numerically. Without a contract, she lacks a blessing to boost her stats as her level increases. Other skills improve with spiritual aid, but even leveling up yields little stat growth for her. Shinobu nods, adding that as a summoner, she should know he works with level 5 and higher gods. He plans to call forth beings and says her failure to contract was wise, as he finds the 4 great spirits repulsive. Alice listens, shocked, as Shinobu urges her to discard the Academy's teachings. From the summoning platform, images of celestial beasts emerge. She sees the divine level 5 beings, who ask if she's the one seeking a contract. One warns that their blessing is immense, and a weak vessel might shatter under its weight. The beast then asks if she still desires the pact. Alice reflects on her failure with the four great spirits, knowing a contract with these beings risks her destruction, but she resolves to proceed boldly. Feeling she has no other path, she declares her wish to form the pact. The beasts are Bahamut the flame dragon god, Indra the thunder emperor, Leviathan the sea emperor, and Gaia the mother earth goddess. One beast states that if she has the capacity for their blessing, they'll bond with her. As Alice braces to receive the divine energy, she senses a vast, overwhelming force within, as if her body might break. Gabriel asks Shinobu if Alice will be alright. He questions if Gabriel is concerned. Gabriel admits she's uneasy about his actions and asks why he chose such advanced beings for Alice's contract. Shinobu explains that Alice couldn't form the typical pacts because she's not incompetent. He notes how traders weaken the locals, limiting them to the four great spirits, but exceptions exist. A gifted person who slipped through their control might seem incompetent, he says. Forming a divine protection contract with a superior being is impossible for humans or spirits due to their limitations. Alice finds herself in a deep, ocean-like void, pinned down by unseen forces. She believes she's been destroyed, and memories of her family flood her mind. Stirring, she vows she can't die yet, driven to defeat the man who raised her village. Breaking free from the restraints, she pleads for the gods' power to aid her. Meanwhile, Shinobu declares her talent rivals that of a deity. Back on the summoning platform, Alice returns, and Shinobu proclaims the pact is sealed. Overwhelmed, she rises, rushes to embrace the mage and sobs, exclaiming she succeeded. Messing up his hair, Shinobu says this is what he expects from his student. Alice's status displays on a screen, revealing her Peace Center qualification for the Level 5 pact bonus. Standing there, she feels at ease and says she'd love a bath to unwind, but Shinobu, to her dismay, insists her training is only beginning. He announces they'll now focus on raising her level. Alice questions if it's necessary, and he firmly replies it's time for her to grow stronger. Though she gets it, she mentions sweating from the pack strain, but Shinobu brushes it off as no big deal, waving his magical staff to shift her focus instantly. Knowing she's exhausted, Shinobu urges her to concentrate to avoid errors that could harm her. He asks if she's used magic before, and Alice admits only basic household spells and first-level magic, so he offers to guide the magic for her. His staff glows as he explains he'll channel power into her and the staff, instructing her to stay still to unleash the spell. Shinobu tells her to look up at her target. Alice's eyes widen, spotting a high-level calamity monster. He says she'll use magic to slay the dragon, and she's stunned, noting only elite mages or knights can do that. Doubting she can do it solo, she hears Shinobu urge her to trust him, confidently stating he'll direct the magic. He casts a 5th-level fire spell, Fire Kobashi, launching it at the beast, which erupts in the sky, breaking apart. Alice, awestruck, calls it unbelievable. Shinobu pulls up the status screen, but she's confused about what he wants her to see, saying she only held the staff. Realizing she can't view the screen, he prompts her to check her status directly. Recalling the status plate she got at the academy, she pulls it out. She's shocked to see her level has jumped to 5. Not grasping the other stats, Shinobu asks if her skill values are 2 to 3 times higher than locals, noting they'll adjust with each level up. She wonders how she gained so many levels when he defeated the dragon, and Shinobu credits the friendship necklace. The item splits experience points equally among the team, though level gains have caps. This lets high-level players' points boost lower-level ones, even if they don't fight. This balances strength. Shinobu reflects, recalling how he used this tactic when playing La Vida with friends, and it applies here. He figures it won't be hard to build disciples into a force with gear, guidance, and oversight. Alice, unfamiliar with the item, realizes he orchestrated it all for her and expresses her gratitude. A girl with long dark hair emerges, saying she battled a thief cat and trailed Shinobu while he was asleep. She greets him with a cheerful good morning, and Alice, observing, admires her beauty. The girl mentions to Alice that she saw Shinobu hug her, admitting she felt jealous. Flustered, Alice tries to clarify it was due to leveling up, but the girl brushes her off and asks Shinobu if he'll hug her too. She then laughs, admitting it was a tease since her actions are restricted. Shinobu realizes the age limit applies to her as well. Alice's thoughts race, trying to figure out their relationship, even wondering if the girl could be his wife, but learns she's a level 6 summon, similar to Gabriel. Shinobu remarks that her timing is perfect, and the summon girl vows to fulfill any task he gives. He explains he'll provide Alice with an amulet, asking if she's clear, and she checks if he wants her to guard Alice discreetly. She questions if Alice matters to him, and he responds that she's his disciple. They lock eyes, and the girl whispers she's fine protecting Alice, then holds Shinobu's chin, their faces close. She asks if it's a request or a command. A bit anxious, he calls it a request, adding she can refuse if she wants. She teases that he's odd, surrounded by women in the palace yet avoiding deeper love. She notes even those women could act on affection. But Shinobu insists he values loyalty over romance and wants no part in it. Alice feels awkward watching their exchange. The girl, Suki Omiya, says she respects his stance and agrees to the request, ensuring Alice gets the Matsuno Tasha amulet. Shinobu wraps up the training, and Alice feels exhausted. Shinobu praises Alice for forming the pact and leveling up, calling it great work, and she asks about tomorrow's training. He turns to the woman before him, asking if she can explain, and she nods. He reveals they'll have a mock battle with Gabriel, shocking Alice. Shinobu explains it's the best way to strengthen her body, as locals learn new skills this way. He asks if she's up for it, and though she admits it'll be tough, she confidently says she wants to grow stronger. Alice notes Gabriel's strength, spotting her wielding a spear. The girl explains that physical techniques are needed to defeat infernals, stunning both. Shinobu, now relax, says that's just how it'll go. Shinobu commands many beasts in his castle, experts at making Alice stronger, and urges her to give her all. She agrees enthusiastically. While calling him master, Alice passes a figure in black armor guarding the palace during her morning run, greeting him warmly. The figure, a fully armored gatekeeper, stands watch. In the kitchen, Shinobu and Alice enjoy curry, and he's thrilled with the meal. She says it resembles a dish from her tribe, happy he enjoys it. He suggests she must be worn out from her morning run, but Alice insists she's fine. Around the table, the summoned beasts gather, and Alice wonders if they eat. Gabriel clarifies they draw magical energy from Shinobu, making food unnecessary. He asks if they can eat regardless, and she notes they can feel hunger, but don't need to since it's not essential. Alice inquires about the swordsman at the gate, and Shinobu explains he's Kuroi, the gatekeeper with a clairvoyant magic eye. Noticing him, Alice remarks he's a divine humanoid who might feel hunger too. Shinobu says Kuroi is the type to never abandon his post. After some thought, Alice resolves to bring him food. Shinobu suggests consulting the maids, but she insists serving is typical for her low level and says she's happy to do it, carrying a basket of food. Alice courteously asks the towering gatekeeper if he's hungry as smoke trails from his eyes. He says it's not needed. Nervous, she explains she knows they can feel hunger, so she brought food, but he refuses, warning her not to talk to him or face elimination. She apologizes for overstepping and making him uneasy. As Alice starts to walk away, the knight calls her back. He admits he's not skilled at speaking with women, confusing her. The gatekeeper explains he can't pause to eat while on duty, so she shouldn't engage him. He clarifies he's not bothered by her, just unaccustomed to chatting. He asks if she'd mock him, and she replies that despite his strength, he's surprisingly shy. He shares that long ago, betrayal left him preferring solitude. Alice respectfully apologizes for disturbing him. As she turns to go, he stops her again, asking if she'll discard the basket. Curious about its contents, he prompts her to show it. She reveals curry sandwiches and other treats, and to her surprise, the gatekeeper accepts them. Removing his helmet, the knight says he's on duty but makes an exception. They sit on the ground to share the food Alice brought. Seeing her staring, the gatekeeper asks what she wants. She admits she's shocked he took off his helmet. Alice peppers him with questions about his thoughts on the food and sweets. He tries the curry, noting its spice, and she wonders if Shinobu dislikes spicy flavors. Alice promises to avoid spicy curry next time as a favor. She asks to greet him whenever she passes the gate, hoping they'll all be friends, but he insists friends are only those who fought together in battle. He urges her to train hard to one day stand by him in combat. The beast allows her to keep talking to him, adding he likes sweets and will eat when she brings them. He returns to his post, donning his helmet. Alice finds his manner of speaking odd. From the palace, Shinobu observes her return. Gabriel asks if he wants to speak to Alice, but he says no, noting she's settling into the castle. Gabriel comments that Alice's training seems to be progressing, but Shinobu disagrees, pointing out a problem. He explains that to grow stronger, she must master potent magic. However, locals don't learn just by leveling up. Gabriel adds that learning requires stats high enough to handle the magic. Shinobu describes the scroll, a unique item inscribed with a magical formula, noting that Alice only knows level 1 magic. Since none of them are familiar with this item, Alice must return to the magic school. She puts on her school uniform and steps out of her room to meet Shinobu and Gabriel. Standing in front of them, she says sorry for keeping them waiting. Alice is resolved to go back to learn new techniques and find the scrolls. Shinobu, concerned, asks if she's alright with returning to school. She recalls the painful events she endured there. He assures her that if it's too hard, she doesn't have to go, promising to find other ways for her to study magic. Still, Alice is firm and heads back to grow stronger. At the academy, she walks among other girls, feeling uneasy due to past traumas. One girl spots her, shocked. The girl verifies that Alice is alive. Beatrice shares that she heard Alice faced a terrible incident over the summer break. Beatrice appears genuinely worried for Alice, tearing up, but then stuns everyone by calling her talentless scum with no skill, only luck. She mentions hearing that Alice's hometown was obliterated. Another rumor, she claims, is that a survivor like Alice was sold as a slave. Alice feels stung by these words and the gossip others might have spread. The girl accuses Alice of losing her purity to a vile master and escaping to the academy because of it. Humiliated, Alice turns away as Beatrice laughs, finding it entertaining. Beatrice questions if Alice plans to request reinstatement, doubting it's wise, and notes she's no longer homeless, so she seeks dorm life. Beatrice promises food and clothes are assured. She raises her staff, casting a level 1 fireball with magic and launching it. Taunting Alice, she says a leveling test looms, and failing it means missing next year's course, leading to expulsion. Alice is on the ground as Beatrice cackles. Abruptly, Alice admits she was indeed sold and many tried to take her purity. Beatrice demands a detailed account of the events. Another girl, Eve, asks if it happened in a pigsty, as rumored. Alice shocks them, saying she kept her purity by fighting off attackers with scratches and kicks, making her undesirable to buyers. Beatrice mocks her further, saying Alice is too incompetent even to serve as a love slave. Alice retorts that her benefactor not only valued her but admired her spirit, and to silence Beatrice, she shouts a bold curse. Beatrice, stunned by the outburst, scrambles to regain control of the dispute. Beatrice repeats that Alice is incompetent, pointing out her failure to form a pact. Alice finally reveals her staff, astonishing Beatrice, and mirrors her level 1 fireball spell, firing it at Beatrice and causing an explosion that knocks her down. With newfound confidence, Alice calls her a filthy pest and tells her to be quiet. On the training field, Alice is eager to display her new skills. A monitor outlines the test, requiring them to stand and shoot magic at a wooden dummy 10 meters away. Beatrice smirks, certain Alice will fail since she couldn't bond with the 4 great spirits. Beatrice suspects Alice's earlier fireball was a fluke. She assumes Alice is trying to impress the professor and will humiliate herself, amusing everyone. During her test, Beatrice launches 2 fireballs, obliterating the wooden dummy. The watching girls gasp, amazed at her firing 2 fireballs. She brags she could shoot 7 fireballs and taunts Alice for supposedly cheating with tricks. The crowd is stunned. Alice speaks up, accusing Beatrice of turning her friends against her and isolating her at school. Beatrice admits a single word was enough to push everyone away. She questions if Alice's mention of the past is about revenge, but Alice says she's moved on. Recalling her talk with the gatekeeper, Alice states true allies stand together in battle. Other girls call her insane, claiming slavery broke her mind, but Alice retorts that she and Beatrice fight on different fronts. Raising her staff, she summons a fireball and hits the wooden dummy. Alice casts more fireballs, striking the remaining dummies, leaving Beatrice red-faced. She unleashes a fireball 8 times stronger, wowing the other girls. Alice asks Beatrice if she knows a fairy tale, puzzling her. She shares that in the tale, some cast level 5 magic repeatedly, so her level 1 magic is no big deal. Beatrice demands to know what she means, but Alice says she wouldn't get it. Alice recalls Shinobu's advice about finding another path to learn and recognizing her talent. Her pact's success was proof. With Beatrice sprawled in shock, Alice proclaims she's no longer incompetent. She strides past to submit her reinstatement license, while elsewhere, young boys gather with an older man in a mansion. The man picks a boy, instructing him to visit his room later. He chuckles, anticipating a fun night. Beatrice bursts in, sobbing for her father. Collapsing at his feet, she rants about Alice. She recounts the incident, and enraged at the commoner's defiance, he declares extermination is needed. The father and daughter plot a purge. A man with pointed ears, circled by bats, appears. Startled, Beatrice asks who he is. He introduces himself as Vlad, the original vampire, a being empowered by a transmitter over a century ago. Her father questions why he's there, and what roused him now. Vlad explains that, bound by a family pact, he lurks in their shadows and sensed a potent presence. He felt this power near Beatrice, and she wonders if it's Alice. A boy in the hallway overhears them. Her father tells Vlad he needn't bother with such a trivial task, but the vampire persists. From behind a cracked door, the boy spies. Vlad grumbles he's often called to handle menial jobs, feeling used to clean up messes. Swiftly, he attacks the boy, who collapses, drenched in red liquid. Vlad instructs Beatrice to use her cunning to spark this conflict, and trembling, she nods in agreement. From a high vantage point, the God Slayer observes everything. He calls the ancestral vampire a fake, questioning if such a being could even challenge them. He senses a new force near Alice, spotting a colossal monster beside a boy. The creature declares that the long-awaited moment has finally arrived from above. They watch a gigantic dragon approach. The boy notes that the God Slayer's efforts to spread his influence have birthed something far greater. The trio aims to defeat the transmigrator to gain even more power. The dragon nears and is quickly destroyed. The God Slayer is level 98, the boy level 92, and the four-armed beast level 95, known as the Three Sages, with the God Slayer plotting to reshape the world. At the castle, Alice trains with Gabriel. She launches 6 fireballs at the Archangel, who effortlessly blocks them with her spear. Gabriel knocks Alice down, aiming the spear's sharp tip at her. Shinobu remarks that Gabriel's training is intense, believing it's good for Alice's physical growth, though she's limited to level 1 magic. He checks if Alice is alright, and she confirms she is, admitting it's tough but vowing to keep going to get stronger. Shinobu asks about the scroll, and Alice says it's given at level 2, but no one's earned one in ages. He inquires about level 3, and she explains she knows little, only that it involves another person and is hard to master, requiring a transmit grader. The weaker the local, the more transmit graders are needed to learn it. Alice recalls her meeting with the God Slayer and his urging her to grow stronger. Shinobu worries the talk stirred painful memories, but she assures him it's okay, saying she can't forget despite wanting to. Shinobu grows suspicious about who the God Slayer might be. Alice announces she's off to change clothes, saying goodbye to both. Back at the academy, she fires fireballs at wooden dummies, astonishing her peers. Students chatter about Alice, praising her high grades and even her charm. One girl scolds them, calling her a beast, while another says she's glad Alice beat Beatrice. Beatrice, overhearing from behind, grows furious and glares at Alice, who's alone. Walking the academy's outskirts, Alice ponders her failure to find scroll information. Beatrice blocks her path. Annoyed, she asks how it feels to be the top student now, but Alice downplays it, saying she doesn't care and isn't interested. Beatrice lifts her staff. Alice asks if she wants another level 1 magic duel, but Beatrice refuses. She casts level 3 magic, summoning a magic circle beneath them. Beatrice asks if Alice is shocked, revealing it's transfer magic. She boasts it's a trap her family poured all their resources into, designed to leave only ruin. A blinding light forces Alice to shut her eyes. When she opens them, she's elsewhere smiling. Beatrice mocks if she's shaking in fear, bragging about hunting little girls. Alice follows Beatrice's gesture and sees Vlad amid several lifeless bodies. Beatrice cheers, telling the vampire she's delivered the prey. Alice asks about the bodies, and Vlad explains they were A and B rank adventurers hunting him, likely political foes. Beatrice, smug, calls him a supreme, unbeatable vampire, declaring Alice's end. But Alice, unafraid, questions why such a being takes human orders, deducing it's due to a pact. Vlad, the vampire, declares he's uninterested in Alice, but in those lurking behind her. Alice berates herself for stumbling into the trap. The lifeless bodies on the ground stir, rising to attack her. The creatures pin Alice down. Vlad explains these are his zombies, transformed after having their fluids drained, and warns she'll face the same fate. Beatrice insists it's not enough, demanding Alice be kept alive to be taken to the mansion and given to her pet orc, which is in heat. Vlad calls her vicious, stating he's indifferent to human fates. Beatrice cackles at the brutality, mocking Alice as incompetent. Still trapped by the zombies, Alice calls for Shinobu's aid through her necklace. A guardian beast appears, tearing off Vlad's arm. Yona praises Alice for summoning her instead of dying out of pride. Vlad demands to know who the beast is, and she introduces herself as one of the 3 great gods of the rising sun, ruler of eternal darkness and moon goddess. She concludes by proclaiming this is the name that will end the vampires. Beatrice questions who this woman is, calling her foolish for challenging the ancestral vampire. Without much talk, Yomi labels Beatrice a loudmouth, slaps her, and knocks out a tooth. Beatrice, clutching her bleeding nose, reels in terror as Yomi shames her further. Yomi loudly brands Beatrice a foolish pig for believing in a real ancestral vampire. She stuns all by declaring no such being exists. Vlad protests, asserting he's the true ancestral vampire. Yomi clarifies that the original blood demon turned others, creating many, not just one. She questions Vlad. If he's a true vampire, why didn't those he drained become vampires too? Vlad, shaken, silently agrees she's right, but Beatrice objects, asking why he's letting this woman overpower him after guarding her family for years. Yomi, sensing something off, taps into Shinobu's archives. The archives, accessible to Shinobu's allies to a degree, are searched for true ancestor. They describe an artificial vampire crafted by an alchemist over decades to outdo the original. The first attempt failed. Denying defeat, the alchemist convinced himself his creation matched the true ancestor. Named Prince Vlad, the failed creation was given false memories to believe he was the true ancestor. The records note that a false vampire's danger lies in turning people into zombies, a task once part of the game. Beatrice grapples with Vlad being the flawed product, and Yomi confirms it, shocking her. Vlad, relieved, feels content that his tiresome life of serving humans is nearing its end. Thrilled, he wonders if this is why he met Yomi, calling her the goddess of death. Yomi ignores him, but Vlad presses, asking if she'll end his existence. Overjoyed at finding the ideal moment to perish, Yomi retorts that she finds him repulsive and forbids him from calling her the beloved goddess of death. Still eager to fight, Vlad admits he can't beat her but hopes to leave marks of his life as scars. His nails extend, sharp like a great cat's. He charges, casting level 3 magic, Dark Souls. The blast hits Yomi, exploding, but he's stunned to see she's unscathed. Yomi declares her status as a supreme being, immune to a mere level 3 dark magic attack. Vlad readies another strike, begging her to release him from his endless life through battle. She shocks him by saying he's mistaken, questioning if he thinks they're actually fighting. Perplexed, Vlad halts his trouble. Yomi points out she hasn't struck back, only defended. He asks if she'll deny him the honorable death he craves. Yomi agrees to grant his wish, but since he targeted Alice, says she won't be the one to end him. With level 5 magic, Yomi casts Toy Box, summoning coffins that appear behind her. These coffins guide souls to the underworld, once used to call dark followers. Now Yomi plans to trap Vlad inside one. A coffin opens, releasing several skeletons from the shadows. She tells him she's answering his plea, summoning only weak level 1 creatures. She adds that he'll be the strong one, but wonders how long he'll endure against them. The skeletons seize Vlad, binding him as he did Alice. In panic, he screams, pleading for her to stop, insisting she should kill him outright, not leave him to languish there. Vlad demands why she's treating him so cruelly. Calling her beloved goddess of death again, Yomi snaps at him to stop, finding it repulsive. Dragged into the coffin, Vlad vanishes into another realm. Yomi mocks that kindness isn't in her nature. Meanwhile, Beatrice cowers on the ground, trembling. Yomi turns, calling to Alice and embracing her, suggesting they head home, but Alice acts oddly. Suddenly, Alice bursts into a mess of flesh and liquid. A seal drops, revealing she was a puppet. Yomi guesses a switch occurred during the transfer, stunned by magic unknown in Levada. She estimates it's level 5 or 6. Alice finds herself in an unfamiliar place, questioning her surroundings. The God Slayer, with his 2 allies, notes she's awake. Recognizing his voice, Alice braces for combat. The boy warns it's unwise, and the God Slayer explains their strength stems from their purpose. Confused, Alice asks what a transmitter is and what they want with Shinobu. The God Slayer replies he has many goals and grudges. As a gesture, he shares that a century ago, outsiders with immense power arrived, hunting the world's guardians. They set zones for monster battles and leveling, weakening the locals. He notes this didn't affect special cases like him and his companions. Alice asks who they are, and the God Slayer reveals they were once the 3 sages, the mightiest military force. As NPCs, the 3 sages served as mentors or formidable foes for players, holding top levels before the Great Update. Alice questions how they've survived a century. The beast speaks, saying immortality is common, and they each play parts in crafting a perfect world. He claims the transmitter ruined everything, killing his allies in their bid to rule. Alice asks if revenge drives them. The God Slayer says it's more, explaining the transmitter appeared abruptly, dominating all with vast power. After listening, Alice concedes their aim might be noble, but argues their actions are worse than the transmitters. Furious, she yells that he killed her parents for it. He calmly confirms it, stating it's how to bridge level gaps, gaining points from those seeking vengeance. Over the past century, their levels have climbed beyond 90 due to their actions. Alice reflects on her ruined city and the world's pain caused by the transmitter, yet she trusts Shinobu is unique. The boy grins, surprised he snared a transmit grader, explaining they rarely appear publicly except in cases like a deserter. Alice wonders what a deserter is. He clarifies that these beings belong to factions, but some abandon their guilds to form new ones. He asks if she knows their next step. Connecting the dots, she realizes they recruit others and that she was bait to draw out Shinobu. The God-Slayer nods, confirming it was their scheme. He presses her for details about Shinobu, noting the trio never strikes unknown foes. Alice reaches for her amulet to summon help, but it's gone. He reveals the protective beast amulet was placed on the decoy during the teleportation switch. Determined to protect her master, she resolves to stay silent, even at her own peril. Anticipating her resolve, he praises her strong spirit, saying she'd withstand trouble. Instead, he plans to use magic to probe her mind directly. Alice retorts that dead girls keep no secrets. He asks if she'd end her own life as she steps toward the cliff's edge. She believes this act will shield Shinobu and others from harm. The boy questions if she's brave enough to follow through. With her back turned, Alice leaps off the cliff. The God-Slayer calls her foolish, noting they can extract knowledge from the dead. Plummeting, she's stunned and sheds tears, feeling her sacrifice is futile. Shinobu, floating, catches Alice. He apologizes for arriving late. She opens her eyes, relieved. He expresses regret again for her ordeal. Setting her down safely, he grips a mighty sword, ensuring she's unharmed. Shinobu confronts the trio, warning that targeting his disciple carries a steep cost. The hunter is shocked by Shinobu's sudden appearance, claiming the area should block detection magic for meters. Shinobu counters that he can always pinpoint his allies' locations, no matter the distance, even if blocked. The hunter calls him a cheat. Gabrielle and the palace-guarding knight are summoned, poised for battle to rescue Alice. Alice, surprised, asks the knight if they're friends, smiling despite no reply. The God-Slayer studies his foes, unprepared to face a transmit greater and allies so soon. Shinobu uncovers the God-Slayer's identity as an NPC. He agrees some transmitter actions are wrong, but condemns the hunter for burning Alice's village and selling her. Shinobu rejects the hunter's self-image as a just avenger, calling it a delusion. Ready to fight, he vows to break the toxic cycle started by the trans man, beginning with the hunter. The trio picks their foes, the hunter versus Shinobu, the beast against the knight, and the boy against Gabriel. The hunter declares his allies can act freely, but the transmit greater is his alone. He rushes Shinobu, sending them both tumbling off the cliff. Their battle rages over the sea, with Shinobu using a dagger to fend off strikes. Noticing the hunter's speed, Shinobu remarks it's how he's endured a century. The hunter retorts that this is only the start, landing a blow to Shinobu's kidneys. Amid her own fight, Gabriel frets for her master, but the boy reminds her he's her opponent. Meanwhile, the maid battles the four-armed beast, each arm brandishing a sword. Back in the main clash, Shinobu struggles to detect any movement or presence during the hunter's attacks. The hunter uses level 5 teleportation magic to vanish and strike. Shinobu blocks the attack, realizing this battle will be tough, and remarks that the sage title is too grand for this man. The hunter boasts he's honed combat skills specifically to counter transmit greeters, favoring close-range fighting. He claims transmit greeters lean too heavily on their granted powers, while Shinobu struggles to wield his effectively. Shinobu admits close combat is tricky for a summoner. The hunter teleports again, aiming for Shinobu's back, but Shinobu evades, seizing his foe's hand, startling the hunter. He notes that at close range, attacks can't miss, then triggers level 5 magic, unleashing a minimal self-destruction spell. A small radiant blast erupts from the move. Shinobu's MP drops by nearly half. The hunter scoffs, calling it a weak effort. He casts level 3 magic, Stupid Recovery, surprising Shinobu. In another fight, Gabriel lies injured on the ground, and the boy taunts her, asking if healing magic was pointless. The hunter claims his ally surpasses Gabriel. Shinobu, alarmed, calls out to the nearly defeated Seraph. Gabriel apologizes weakly. Moments earlier, her opponent, the boy, declared himself the Red Sage. Despite his childlike look, he's a supreme mage mastering all magic types. Grinning boldly, he says it's a thrill to face her. He hurls magical explosions and charges. Gabriel narrowly dodges, aiming her spear at his back. Her spear nearly grazes his eye, but the boy grabs it, shocking her. With level 3 magic, he invokes Frozen Queen's power, turning seawater into a small iceberg. Gabriel steps onto the ice to strike, but her body grows sluggish whenever she swings her spear at the sage. She suspects a mental interference spell and knows she must act fast to aid Shinobu. The sage mocks her hesitation, warning she can't win like this. Caught off guard, magical chains bind Gabriel to the icy ground. He reveals he's not immortal, sustaining his youthful look with red flu from the blood of young women and children. He expresses his desire to absorb Gabrielle in this way. Closing in, he promises to enjoy her before discarding her, claiming he knows how to satisfy a woman. Elsewhere, the knight and beast wage a fierce battle. The four-armed monster overwhelms the knight, who collapses wounded. The beast taunts that the knight's skills are rusty from weak foes, saying his six-sword style outmatches him and only transmit greeters challenge him. The knight's strikes can't reach the beast, and he fears defeat looms. Alice watches, anxious. The beast calls the knight trivial compared to his allies, urging surrender before he's torn apart. The knight rises, vowing to save his friend. The beast acknowledges his courage, respecting him as a warrior. The knight charges forward. Back in the main clash, the hunter tells Shinobu the fight's outcome is set. Shinobu retorts it's typical of someone using cheap tactics to level up. He asks to pose a question before his defeat. The hunter wonders if Shinobu's accepted his doom, finding him reasonable. Shinobu remarks it's common for a transmit greater to plead when facing death. He offers to answer. Shinobu asks what sets the hunter's power apart from that of transmit greeters. The hunter replies it's his resolve and skill, urging Shinobu to see it. Having seen his allies in World Defiled, Shinobu probes how they learned magic. Sensing this as their core difference, the hunter reveals he studied at Suki's Grand Library, where the magical book lives. The magical book in Suki's Grand Library can either consume a person's mind or bestow immense magic. The hunter reveals that others who challenged it were devoured by the book. Smirking, Shinobu thanks him for the valuable details, puzzling the hunter. Opening his command screen, Shinobu remarks that the man shared too much too easily, signaling it's time to tackle the challenge, though the hunter doesn't follow. The hunter questions what Shinobu doing, and the mage replies he's activating a class skill orb. The orb shines in his hand. He unleashes the divine power release ability. The knight's armor breaks apart, revealing a colossal three-headed beast. The beast gapes, stunned to see Cerberus, the underworld's mightiest guardian. The red sage is equally shocked to find Gabrielle fully healed. The red sage hurls a massive fire blast at Gabrielle, but she wields her spear to turn the flames to smoke. She taunts that his magic is useless without Shinobu's blessing. Panicked, he claims he hasn't unleashed his full strength. Tentacles sprout around him, and he grumbles he avoided using them to not look grotesque, but now has no option. He morphs into a giant kraken, yet Gabrielle's single punch ruptures part of his form. The monster howls, baffled that she wasn't this powerful moments ago. She credits Shinobu's ability for her boost and mocks him, calling him an old, ugly beast and an easy mark. Gabrielle's profile lists her as the top seraph among 9, fiercely loyal to her master, with a hidden efficient aficionado trait. The hunter, frantic, demands to know what's happened. Shinobu admits he's unsure but notes the hunter talks too much and asks about his NPC personality. He adds that Alice warned him of the hunter's nature, so he played weak deliberately. He regrets that recovery items are only good for crises. The hunter asks if Shinobu faked weakness all along. Shinobu clarifies he planned strategically and respects the hunter's strength, but this is his end. The new update nerfed summoners, so a skill was added to balance it. This skill boosts all summoned creatures' stats by 1.7 times. The four-armed sage confesses he didn't realize he faced a monster. Cerberus clamps a sword in one jaw. The beast wonders if Cerberus counts as a swordsman, as the creature taunts him to attack, promising a slaughter. Cerberus charges, its strike shattering the beast's weapon, leaving him dazed. The kraken's remnants dissolve in flesh. Gabrielle readies another strike as the red sage pleads for a pause. She accuses him of targeting Shinobu while posing as a child, declaring he faces divine judgment. Confused, he asks what that means, only to take a punch from Gabrielle. In the other fight, the hunter reels, seeing his allies' HP and MP drained to 0. Shinobu taunts that his allies outshine the sages. The hunter vows that killing Shinobu will banish his summons. He charges, but Shinobu parries with a defensive blow. Stunned by its speed and force, the hunter asks if Shinobu hid his true strength all along. Shinobu denies it, explaining some of his summon stats transferred to him, enhanced by divine power release. The hunter calls it absurd. Shinobu agrees it's an unfair tactic, but his secret weapon. The hunter, in rage, hurls a fireball that explodes towards Shinobu, who deflects it. He warns the transmit greater not to belittle him, swearing to restore the world to its past state. Shinobu calls forth Bahamut, and from a rift, the monster's arm emerges, delivering a crushing blow to the sage. Shinobu states the hunter's goal is irrelevant, as his actions mirror the transmit greeter's cruelty. Black wings sprout from Shinobu as Alice watches the battle, seeing his magic circles and summoned beings. The sage demands to know what's happening. With level 5 magic, Shinobu unleashes the divine flame dragon emperor's roar. A surge of energy blasts the sage, who, though near defeat, still obsesses over destroying the transmit greeters. Shinobu questions if the hunter will rethink his path. The hunter refuses, admitting he's lost much and taken from others to begin anew. Muttering words in a foreign tongue, he launches another attack, vowing never to surrender. He tries to hit Shinobu from behind, but Alice's spear suddenly strikes him. The hunter is stunned by Alice's daring move. She says she knew he'd fight to the end, as they're alike in spirit. Smiling as he falls, he agrees they share the same resolve. Alice turns to Shinobu, tearfully saying they succeeded, her thoughts on her parents and village as she weeps. At last she feels she's avenged her loved ones. Shinobu gently pats her head, reassuring her it's all right. Alice sobs harder, hugging her master tightly. Gabriel arrives, asking Shinobu if the fallen foes dropped any usable items. A particular piece of gear catches his eye, and he uses his appraisal skill. The item, Demonic Eyes of the Three Sages, crafted by them, can track transmit greeters via soul wavelength up to level 20. Examining it closely, Shinobu is amazed they made such a tool. He feels relieved, knowing Megumi will soon enter this world and could have been easily found by them before her adoptive father. He muses that this item might help him locate his sister. With it, he senses progress as she enters Levita. Only a human foe remains, pushing him to grow stronger. 2 weeks later, Alice is back at the academy. Beatrice, now toothless, claims she's fine with Alice as a friend. Alice is shocked by the offer. With Vlad's disappearance known, the Horizon family's leader lost all backing and was killed by a rival, their house crumbling overnight. Yuka offers peace, as Shinobu erased that day's memory. Alice calls it generous, delighting Beatrice, who asks if they'll be friends and what benefits it'll bring. Alice declines, apologizing. Stunned, Beatrice pleads to move past old grudges. Alice admits surprise at the words from her former bully, but refuses, revealing she's leaving the academy. Beatrice panics, warning that if Alice quits after gaining fame, she'll become the new, incompetent target. 2 girls nearby watch, one saying Beatrice is reaping what she sowed. Alice says goodbye, thanking her for everything. Still reeling, Beatrice chases after, begging her to stay, but Alice has no reason to linger, having secured the 3 sages' scroll information. They travel to Emerald City, encircled by a massive wall. Alice excitedly calls their next target a fortress. Shinobu confirms, noting the forbidden book lies in Suki's Grand Library. The dungeons are run by the Adventurers Guild, explaining their presence in Guild C, a bustling city. Shinobu hopes he and Gabriel blend in with locals unnoticed. Alice's ears perk, catching something, as she asks Shinobu a curious question. He says her curiosity doesn't surprise him. They turn to see a small dog trailing them. Shinobu explains that some summon beasts weaken when divine power release is active. Addressing her question, he reveals the dog is Cerberus, diminished compared to Gabriel, hence his frail form. Shinobu urges him to keep moving. Cerberus thanks Shinobu for clarifying but asks Alice not to mention his embarrassing state. Charmed by his tiny shape, Alice kneels, asking if he's hungry. Shinobu cautions Alice that despite his appearance, Kuroi Nu remains far stronger than her. They reach the Adventurers Guild headquarters to sign up. The place buzzes with maids laughing and drinking. They aim to blend in, but someone shouts Shinobu's name. A woman steps forward, clarifying she's not the Adventurers Guild master, but something entirely different. She reveals she's the leader of the Dawn Brigade Guild, and Shinobu fears this could spell trouble. He and Gabriel ready their weapons for a possible fight, but she surprises them by calling his name and noting he's surrounded by fellow transmit greeters only. Shinobu admits he didn't expect another transmit greeter to confront him so openly. She expresses shock at seeing him there. To his further surprise, she says he matches a human's description perfectly, making him easy to spot. Cutting to the chase, Shinobu asks what she wants. She explains they debated his fate at the Celestial meeting, and he asks what that entails. She describes it as a summit of guild representatives, including his adoptive father. She notes Shinobu is the only transmit greater no one knows about, sparking heated discussions with a decision to eliminate him. Her group, poised for attack, boasts 5 level 99 fighters and 7 above level 70. She then asks what Shinobu plans to do. He calls it unsettling that they'd order his death on sight. Luckily, he has a plan to escape this mess. Shinobu urges her to stop pretending and state her real intent for talking. She questions why he doubts her, given she just shared the meeting's verdict. Shinobu insists that if she truly meant to kill him, she could have done it without introductions or an ambush. She praises his sharpness, apologizing and saying there's no need for weapons. Yuka, who agrees with his suspicion, prompts her to clarify what he means. She explains to Alice that when transmit graders meet, they might kill each other, but if Shinobu were peaceful, she'd have shielded him herself. Introducing herself as Kaori Shin, a quirky figure and the sole celestial meeting member against his elimination, she asks if he grasps her stance. Shinobu counters, asking if it means she holds him in high regard. Kaori, the guild master, invites him to join them, and a stunned Shinobu asks if she's recruiting him. She confirms, listing guild mission perks exclusive to members, including rewards like a lookout ticket. She adds that the ticket hints at a way to leave this world, promises protection from enemies, and offers bonus details about Megumi, hospitalized with a brain injury. Shinobu grips her arm, demanding how she knows about his sister's condition. His sudden move prompts her fighters to take battle stances, and he releases her. She says he'll learn more in her office. They're escorted to Kaori's room, where a member asks them to wait while fetching Megumi's documents. Abruptly, a man speaks, declaring his dislike for Shinobu. The mage asks who he is. He introduces himself as Sato, a rare level 99 member. Sato disagrees with Kaori's choice to spare Shinobu, calling him too risky. Shinobu calmly states he has no desire to fight. Sato reveals he once served in the Patriotic Lion Guild, led by Ayumu, shocking Shinobu, who already viewed his father as corrupt. Sato confirms, noting the Ayumu has endless paid items, warning that joining the Dawn Brigade will only corrupt Shinobu further. He admits there are benefits to accepting Shinobu, but many oppose Kaori's choice. He urges Shinobu to refuse the offer, but Shinobu grins, asking what happens if he says no. Frustrated, Sato claims Shinobu must have relished crushing locals, but warns he won't fare so well against them. Threatening force if Shinobu doesn't comply, Sato reaches for him, only for his arm to be halted effortlessly. Shinobu tightly grasps Sato's arm, forcing him to kneel, and taunts him to repeat his threat. Stunned by the mage's strength, Sato didn't expect this from a summoner. Shinobu muses that Sato's unaware of the power boost from the next update, hoping it's just ignorance as he hates being underestimated. Sato persists, warning he'll get serious if Shinobu continues. Kaori enters, puzzled, asking what's wrong. Shinobu sips tea calmly, while Sato, embarrassed, mumbles nothing happened. Kaori shows Shinobu a photo of Megumi in a critical Tokyo hospital. Amazed, he calls it proof and demands to know how she got a real-world image. She explains few can discuss it, as only 5 great guild masters know the truth, surprising Shinobu that there's knowledge she lacks. She adds it's a mysterious existence tied to the story's origin. Kaori reveals the photo came from Yami Tatsuya, Levita Online's top-ranked player. She describes Yami as a medical student and triple-discipline national athlete with superhuman skills, the fastest at gathering guild coins to earn the logout ticket. Shinobu wonders if this means Yami left the world and why he photographed Megumi. Kaori admits he won't grasp it without understanding the guild's mission, tied to a special dungeon, Purgatory, a realm between space and time. A young man lies pleading for more time, facing a Yumu who looms large, urging him not to fear. Another player stands with the Yumu. The boy points to deadly Ella's monsters behind, warning their attacks kill instantly. One lunges, but the Yumu easily destroys it. He explains the pendant he gave reduces instant death odds by 99%. The boy, frantic, notes the chance isn't 0. The Yumu assures that dodging or striking first avoids issues, earning experience points. He reminds the boy he joined to level up, noting all his friends are level 99. The boy agrees but calls instant death too harsh, unsure of the leveling system, begging again for mercy. Smirking, the Yumu grants forgiveness. Then the man behind kicks the boy into the abyss, where a monster's jaws await. The Yumu laments losing the 5th player that year to leveling, blaming their weakened levels, defending his actions. He claims it's the only way to train weaklings, avoiding it himself, then laughs. He tells Shinobu guild missions are exclusive to members, repeatable, but currently theoretical until the update, limited to 1 attempt upon joining. Shinobu says he's heard of missions, but being guildless knows little. Kaori displays a guild coin exchange shop screen listing various weapons. Shinobu's surprised, expecting health, recovery, or event items, not these rewards. Kaori agrees the rewards are odd. Shinobu, noting level 99 power rivals weapons, ponders the logic. She directs him to the substitution screen's notes. He's stunned by an option to return to the real world. Kaori points to the last page, showing the logout ticket, and explains further. She notes the ticket surfaced 100 years ago, sparking debate as a game-ending condition. Shinobu doubts its legitimacy, asking if she trusts it. She says few did, leading to the first murder after 6 months. He's confused as pre-update players got one mission and coins were always earned. Shocked, he asks if players killed for coins. Hiyori confirms some did, while others couldn't, finding it wrong. She notes players vary, unsure if loved ones could die here or leave kids alone in the real world. Briefly, she calls killing foes a choice. Kaori says it took half a year for players to adapt, fighting for coins. 4 secured the logout ticket. After an announcement, internal fighting stopped, and the hope of returning home grew over time. Kaori displays the major update announcement, revealing that once Megumi enters La Vida, guild coins will be distributed regularly. She suggests the announcement feels like a push for more player eliminations. Shinobu, reflecting deeply, suspects the management aims to rob players of coins, as stealing gold for the logout ticket seems logical. He realizes they're being manipulated into this. Kaori, impressed, praises the mage's quick grasp of the update's harsh motives. Shinobu credits his insight to living with Ayumu. She notes that based on her information, the great guilds are stalling for time. Kaori invites Shinobu to join the Dawn Brigade, offering protection from Ayumu and other guilds if he hands over his guild coins. Shinobu calls it near threatening, and she apologizes, detailing the guild's benefits. She explains their plan. Team up on missions to gather coins and exit La Vida. Shinobu curiously asks if low-level players gain anything. Kaori says she and veterans will stay until everyone returns home, choosing to remain in La Vida. She shares her resolve to protect players, rooted in her family's police background and her own experience as a Japanese officer. Shinobu laughs heartily, calling her words convincing. Kaori reminds him that during disasters, people are evacuated first, as helping others is key to returning home. They shake hands, sealing their agreement. In Purgatory's special dungeon, Ayumu and his friend convene. He claims collecting coins for the logout ticket will end the game. They see people encased in a fleshy mass, vein-like tubes linked to them. The Ayumu says this is what happens to those disconnected from the game. His friend, horrified, says it doesn't look like disconnection, and the Ayumu points to a screen in the force field. The screen shows unimplemented areas and a place beyond the map's edge. The friend is stunned by the fake ticket narrative, but the Ayumu, unfazed, knows it all. The friend asks why the Ayumu hasn't left despite enough coins, and he replies he stays because he loves La Vida. The friend presses about the trapped trio's fate. The Ayumu explains they've been unconscious long-term, occasionally waking to scream in terror. The friend asks about the top-ranked player, but the Ayumu only knows he avoided their fate, leaving the key Agartha as a clue to seek truth. The Ayumu stresses they must reach it first, threatening to abduct and slaughter any women who interfere. In the snowy city, Alice, clad in just a cloak and hood, tells Shinobu her hands and feet are freezing. Her level 3 magic is tweaked to cope. Shinobu warns that more clothes would restrict her movement. Alice asks if Gabriel feels cold, and the Archangel notes summoned beings don't sense weather shifts. Gabriel questions Shinobu about accepting Kaori's offer. He replies he's feigning trust to tap into the guild's resources. Shinobu explains he joined the guild to gather intel, trusting Kaori, but wary of other members. He plans to access guild missions and test how far he can go solo. Gabriel questions if he can tackle them alone, and he assures her they'll manage together. He adds there's no need to share coins with the guild, noting Kaori doubted his ability to succeed alone. Gabriel apologizes for doubting him, and Shinobu smiles, encouraging her to always speak freely. Alice chimes in, admiring Shinobu and calling him amazing. Shinobu warns that blindly following orders is risky, even for her, and she should smile on her own terms. He tells her to choose her path and correct him if he's ever wrong. Tearfully, Alice calls him godlike and infallible, but he insists she'll need to think for herself as she matures. Overjoyed, she vows to always trust him. With little else to do, Shinobu says they must face a monstrous threat. He opens the screen, launching the Permafrost Flood mission, earning 1,000 guild coins for joining. He explains a selection test is required for the monster hunt. They see players gathered, and Alice wonders if this is the test. She notes everyone looks tough, and one mocks Shinobu for bringing women and kids to fight monsters. Irritated, the man claims Shinobu's type gives adventurers a bad name, but Shinobu stays silent. The player shouts, demanding Shinobu kneel and apologize for treating women lightly. Yoni appears, landing a fierce punch on the heckler. She asks Shinobu when to start fighting, and he quits she already has. Other players snap, questioning where Shinobu came from, until a voice demands silence. Great Sage Isabella descends the stairs, greeting them. She thanks the crowd but critiques their low quality. A man whispers she's the 400-year-old witch of the north. With level 4 magic, she conjures frozen edges, announcing the exam to shatter ice statues. She says any skills are allowed, showing her enhanced melee attack as the minimum standard. Isabella stresses this first test weeds out those unfit for the North's brutal monsters, urging the weak to quit. Seeing no one leave, she declares mages and guild leaders will compete separately. Yoma notes Shinobu's fame means he needn't hide his power, and he agrees. Gabriel smashes an ice block with one hit. Yomi casts level 5 toy box magic, asking if making statues vanish counts as destruction. The statues disappear, leaving Isabella stunned, admitting she can't wield level 5 magic. Players panic, scared of this unknown group, as Yomi twirls her dress, dropping stones. Isabella, shocked, identifies them as Brown Devil magic stones. She adds they include the core of the Brown Abyss, a superior ancient ice dragon core. Yomi, grinning, asks if Isabella questions their strength. Isabella concedes all is well. Back with Shinobu, Yomi says Isabella's arrogance tempted her to show off, pulling up her hood. Shinobu chides her for overdoing it, but she laughs. The administration with the top player confirms his plan for the gathered bodies. He nods, and she triggers a high-difficulty invasion event on a snowy mountain, where the despair-announcing flower blooms. Shinobu and his group settle into a lavish room, and he expresses gratitude to Isabella for the arrangement. He appreciates her demeanor despite the earlier chaos and senses her intrigue with his strength. Consequently, they join the monster hunting team, but Alice struggles in the test, only managing a slight crack in the ice. Failing to meet Isabella's standards, Alice is relegated to a servant role as the superiors dictate. Feeling downcast, Alice hears Shinobu admit he's at a loss for words to comfort her. Yomi teases that his seriousness doesn't fit him, and Shinobu retorts that her free-spirited nature shines through her words. The group exits the room, assembly outside Isabella's mansion. Gabriel, curious, asks if Shinobu has business with Isabella since he joined the team and met all mission criteria. He reveals his interest in her skills, noting she's a mage who's lived 400 years. Gabriel starts to doubt Isabella's strength, but Shinobu insists there's a reason for her longevity, likely tied to Kari's influence in the north. Shinobu clarifies it's not about raw power. He wants to know if Isabella can aid them. Just then, Isabella emerges, overhearing, and Shinobu boldly asks her to teach him her technique. Specifically, he requests she share the strengthening magic she used on her staff to shatter the ice. Isabella explains her magical enchantment is a unique method to boost mages' physical might, deeming it unnecessary for Shinobu. He clarifies it's for Alice, admitting his request is abrupt and bold, but offers to aid the city in return. He asks her to train Alice until she reaches a skill level Isabella deems worthy. Alice, worried, asks if Shinobu is abandoning her training. He chuckles awkwardly, confessing he's realized he's not cut out for teaching. He notes players cast magic by instinct, but locals like Alice need precise control. Asking Isabella's opinion, she states Alice has hit her conjuring limit. Isabella acknowledges Alice's talent, but says beastmen aren't suited for precise magic, their roots lying in hunter tribes of forests and deserts. Alice shares that her family excelled in magic among beastmen, yet she can't match Shinobu. Tearfully, she vows to grow stronger. Shinobu hugs her, smiling, affirming she's his disciple. Isabella agrees to train Alice, warning her methods are tough. Alice endures grueling physical drills and days of study. Returning exhausted from another session, she tells Shinobu she's heading for a bath. Noticing her fatigue, he asks Gabriel to look after her. Alice relaxes in a warm tub, reflecting on how training is strengthening her, yet level 3 magic eludes her. Recalling Isabella's words via Yomi's scrolls, she feels inadequate to stand by Shinobu. Gabriel enters shyly. Alice offers to leave, but Gabriel joins her, gently scrubbing her back. Gabriel shares that Shinobu asked her to care for Alice. It reminds Alice of Shinobu rescuing her. Sobbing, she asks Gabriel if she's unworthy to remain at his side. She confesses she's strived to be useful but feels like a burden, unable to match a beast's strength, and despite her revenge, wonders if she should return to the forest. Gabriel reassures Alice that her strength lies in her growth from a revenge-driven spark to a fiercely loyal flame, mirroring Gabriel's own devotion to Shinobu. Alice calls it a stubborn mindset. Chuckling, Alice finds Gabriel amusing, though puzzled. Gabriel wonders if she said something humorous. Pleased, Alice thanks her, vowing to try harder. Suddenly, the lights go out, and Alice offers to fetch light, but Gabriel warns it's unsafe. Alice insists her sharp senses let her see in the dark, asking Gabriel to stay put. Shinobu arrives with a lantern, accidentally knocking Alice down. Seeing her unclothed, he covers his eyes, apologizing. The lights flicker back on, brightening the house. Shinobu repeats his apology, thinking she was still bathing. Alice, smiling, says it's fine since he's her master. Confused, Shinobu asks what she means, but Alice heads back to scrub Gabriel's back. Isabella meets with Shinobu and summoned masters, and he asks Gabriel why they're gathered. She explains it's about Alice's training, noting her hand-to-hand progress but stagnant overall strength. Gabriel suggests a shift, spotting Alice with a bow. Alice fires an arrow, hitting the mark, surprising Shinobu. Gabriel notes this suits her beastman perception for long-range magic attacks. Alice shares that archery is her tribe's fort. Gabriel warns arrows are easily blocked by defensive spells, lacking a mage's ranged power. Shinobu, after pondering, believes it's viable. He surprises Alice by saying he can enhance her skills, introducing the M80 antimatter rifle from his world, a devastating long-range weapon he'll boost with magic. A fierce bear charges, and with precise aim, Alice fells it in one shot. Alice downs the beast, becoming a high-powered magical sniper. Isabella, awestruck, notes the rifle's single shot killed a brown demon. Alice asks Shinobu if spending all their guild coins on her was wise. He assures her it's fine, as they'll earn more post-mission. Thankful, Alice pledges to give her all. Cerberus joins them, and Shinobu says they're nearly set for the guild mission's large-scale subjugation. Isabella warns players their lives aren't guaranteed, urging self-defense, then signals all units to attack the ice orcs. Players charge the beasts. Shinobu observes them slaying orcs, asking if they should join. More monsters near, and with one strike, he wipes out foes, stunning others. A frustrated player laments their lack of glory, regretting the trip to the north. Gabriel spots the Ice King, alerting Shinobu to the mission's boss. The beast roars that Shinobu must die, but Shinobu, brimming with confidence, says the Ice King can't succeed. An orc pursues players, but Alice's single shot drops it effortlessly. Alice fires again, felling multiple ice beasts, terrifying onlookers. Players struggle to process it. Shinobu sits by the defeated Ice King, remarking the beasts were ideal foes. Another orc charges, but Alice's shot downs it, and Shinobu adds the fight was great training for the girls. The players rejoice as the mission concludes, with a notification confirming the end of the Great Permafrost Flood and the distribution of gold coins. Shinobu remarks they can easily exceed this challenge and suggests heading back to Corey's place. Another alert sounds, triggering an avalanche that sends players into a frenzy, as massive vines burst from the snow. A new warning announces an attack event starting in 10 hours, unveiling a colossal fearsome plant. Isabella, shaken and bewildered, listens as Shinobu explains it's a troubling event. The ancient flower, an alien entity, spreads roots, feeding on surrounding life to grow rapidly within 24 hours. It could wipe out humanity. Gabriel asks Shinobu for their strategy, and he grimly calls it bad news. The attack event is one of Levita's toughest missions, introduced post-launch to boost the game's fame, requiring relentless boss attacks. It's a grueling challenge from the game's debut. Shinobu tries contacting Corey and others via his screen, but a notification reveals an on-player limit, sparking panic at facing the event alone. His team dodges the plant's thrashing roots. He orders them back to the city. Other players try entering but hit a barrier, with a message bearing access during missions. Desperate, players fear the plant will kill them, and one blames Shinobu's summons for the crisis. Shinobu knows the area was sealed at the event's start, cutting off communication. Alice, confused, struggles to grasp the situation. Shinobu urges them to ignore the orcs and focus on the mission as the plant keeps growing, devouring all in its path. A scared Alice asks if it eats monsters, and Shinobu confirms it's expanding even now. Isabella arrives, reporting city chaos, and begs Shinobu's aid. He instructs her to lead the army to defend the city at all costs. She asks his plan, and he declares he'll take down the ancient flower's core. Isabella's stunned, but Shinobu assures her they'll manage. He calls Gabriel, Yomi, and a restored Cerberus, asking Alice to stay behind. Though saddened, Alice perks up when he entrusts her with protecting the city, vowing to keep everyone safe. Hours later, the flower looms larger. Yomi asks where the plant is, and Shinobu says they'll hit the roots in groups of 20. He tells Gabriel to unleash everything in Cerberus to shield the team. Yomi retorts she already knows her role without his orders. Shinobu proudly rallies them to prepare. In the city, Alice readies her weapon as Isabella marshals her forces. The attack event kicks off. Shinobu takes flight, and each attacks the flower's roots with level 5 magic. Gabriel unleashes a holy nuclear blast, causing a huge explosion, while Shinobu's dimensional slash hits, but he sees it barely dents the plant's HP. The flower unfurls, showing its true form, and Gabriel confirms with Shinobu that it's the ancient flower. Its core emerges, letting out a bone-chilling scream. Roots spawn beastly creatures, now more grotesque. Shinobu calls to Yomi, who casts level 5 magic, raising a firewall against the monsters as they scatter. Shinobu had warned that the absorbed creatures could outnumber them, making Yomi's role vital. Her undead summons allow her to single-handedly hold back the plant-spawned beasts. He urges the team to keep unleashing strong attacks. A notification warns Shinobu that an active spell will be cancelled, puzzling Yomi, who insists she has enough MP but can't cast her magic. Monsters charge at Yomi, but Shinobu swiftly shields her. She apologizes for the trouble, and he reassures her it's not her fault. Trying to cast his own spell, Shinobu faces an alert blocking summoning magic. Gabriel demands to know what's happening. Frustrated, Shinobu yells at the administrator, accusing her of watching, but Gabriel calls him back, and he apologizes for his outburst. He suspects someone's tampering with the system, but says he's dealt with nerfs before in the city. The absorbed monsters attack with a clear edge. A level 2 flame wall takes out some, saving players. Alice, with sharp aim, keeps downing beasts, leveling up. Out of ammo, Isabella praises her, but Alice credits the weapon. Alice pulls out a firearm, vowing to clear fleeing monsters. Isabella says she's relying on her. A player hides in an alley, reflecting on Shinobu's group defeating beasts, spurring him to try harder. Alice nears, startled as he draws his sword, unaware of a beast behind him. He cleaves the creature in two. It's the player Yomi struck during the exam, who asks if she's alright. He grumbles he was mocked despite his high rank. Alice thanks him, but as she rises, he knocks her weapon away. Confused, she asks what he's doing, sensing his irritation. He demands how she dares treat her savior this way. Alice privately thinks no man is decent except Shinobu. She explains she grabbed the weapon due to the attack and asks his intent. Smirking cruelly, he demands her firearm, saying he saw her slay monsters and calls her greedy for hoarding items. He snatches the weapon, aims at Alice, and calls it a divine tool, speculating Shinobu's a god. With his finger on the trigger, he admits it angers him. Alice warns only she can use it, prompting him to kick her in retaliation. He claims the weapon's for her safety, implying she's valuable to Shinobu, and accuses her of charming him with her femininity. On the ground, Alice defends Shinobu, asking why he's attacking. He kicks her again, trying to assist her in changing her, saying if he can't have items, he'll have her instead, pinning her down. He gloats that she's still pure. Eight Ice recalls Shinobu rescuing her and Gabriel's words about her strength through loyalty. A ghastly figure appears behind the man, confusing him. Seizing the moment, Alice breaks free, grabbing her weapon. The man, sensing peril, pleads with Alice to hold off, insisting he was only kidding. Alice fires a bullet that nicks his ear. She questions why people act cruelly when in power but beg for mercy when cornered, aiming her weapon at him. She remarks that if he justifies his actions as a joke, she can do the same with hers. She shoots his arm, causing him to scream, and says it was a playful pull of the trigger. As he begs for mercy, Alice spares his life, deeming him worse than the man she killed for lacking any principles. He asks if she'll forgive him, and she coldly agrees she will. Monsters swarm and attack him, prompting Alice's laughter as she notes only she forgave him, not the beasts. Shinobu's group fends off vines. He narrowly avoids one, and another nearly hits until Gabriel's slash makes the ancient flower wail. Cerberus acts as their shield, balancing offense and defense, but Shinobu knows there are limits. He reflects on his initial plan for a quick fight using Yomi's secret technique, now reduced to a prolonged melee. Apologizing, he admits his strategy was overly optimistic, and it's no time to hold back. Tapping his screen, he activates the healing orb, a vital safety net for someone as careful as him. Using level 3 magic, he triggers Fury's self-destruction, aiming to hit as often as possible. The flower shrieks, lashing out with tentacles that wound Shinobu, but he repeatedly uses the spell, halting the beast's movements. Relieved, he sees it worked, though it only chipped away part of its HP, and the monster unveils a second form. With just 30 healing orbs left, Shinobu realizes they won't suffice. He wavers, debating a new tactic. Gabriel calls out, asking to perform her final duty. Shinobu pleads with her not to do it. Loveda's system allows trading items for abilities, including summons, in small doses. Gabriel's level 6 final judgment magic can wipe out foes, ineffective on bosses but able to slash the plant's HP. Shinobu hesitates, knowing it'll cost Gabriel's existence, yet his death would doom his sister. A notification reveals he's leveled up, with a recovery orb sent to his gift box. Checking, Shinobu's shocked. Leveling shouldn't have granted 16 more orbs. He wonders if they can further weaken the plant. It strikes, hitting him and Gabriel. Shinobu yells at her not to use self-destruction, vowing they'll finish together. Gabriel nods, resuming the fight with the others, slicing roots. Shinobu and his summons ready a final trouble. He triggers self-destruction 46 times, heavily damaging the creature. With a last punch, he defeats the ancient flower, and a notice declares the event's end. Exhausted, Shinobu collapses, relieved at their victory. A screen alert states no rewards were gained, as he'd received them early from the observer team. Puzzled, he rereads the message. He realizes without the level-up orbs, he'd have lost, but got exactly what he needed to triumph. Shinobu finds the outcome suspiciously perfect, wondering if the management orchestrated it, and ponders their intentions. He's curious about the observer's identity. Too drained to move, he shuts his eyes, choosing to set the thought aside for now. The administrator asks the top-ranked player if their actions were appropriate, and he confirms they were, as no orbs remain. He notes they effectively seized forbidden items. The bot insists the game must remain fair and unbiased. Grinning, the man asks if she enjoyed his personal flair. She responds neutrally, offering no opinion. He boasts he crafted a gripping life-or-death clash, believing it shouldn't conclude without consequences. Chuckling, he declares a penalty awaits the rule-breaking player next, and as the observer, he'll deliver the punishment.